Okay, so I decided to detach the discussion of the H2k Fnatic pick ban from this game because basically there was a lot to talk about in the H2k the pick ban from this game, and I ended up talking for three-quarters of an hour on it, and I know there are quite a lot of people here who are more interested in the game. So basically, as a summary from pick ban and how these teams look. Basically, H2K's major problem from the pick ban phase is that they don't have enough damage in this team. The Lucian is going to fall off a little bit late game, as will Corki, of course, and Victor by himself isn't going to output enough damage to deal with this team. So this means that H2K are going to get outscaled in the late game. However, Fnatic are so they have to force fights in the early mid game. However, Fnatic have a really powerful early game power spike in Rumble, Corki, Alistar, and to a lesser extent Jace. So H2K have to force fights to avoid being outscaled. However, they don't have reliable hard engage, and they're so they can't outscale Fnatic, and if they choose to fight early, then Fnatic's team composition is going to basically beat them up, especially as once Corki gets Trinity Force. So if H2K want to get an early lead in this game, it's going to have to be before sort of the 10-minute mark, 12-minute mark, and they're going to have to snowball from that. And in fact, this is almost what happens, but then we see the strategic advantage that Fnatic managed to win in the pick ban, and we see this come to bear in the rest of the game. Okay, so let's go and get into the game. So I'm going to turn the volume down a little bit on this video.
Be the first team to shut them down. Let's see what happens here. Rainover and Yellowstar sneaking down. They might just want to invade in near this tri-bush and just move around the corner with it. But nobody's waiting. The H2K has just put a ward and said, okay, we're not going to stand and wait here. They're moving in now.
I'm really hoping that they would sit around for the level 1 phase check.
So H2K see Fnatic here, and look how quickly they react. So Fnatic probably don't expect this. They don't expect to be collapsed upon, because the normal thing that most junglers will do, and most teams will do if they see a 4-man invade, is that they will go and claim this part of the jungle. And H2K are a team which love to lane swap early game. So they don't expect Fnatic to come and punish them for this, for this 4-man invade. But instead, H2K are ready for it. They surround Fnatic. Look how quickly they're reacting. 5 men are coming in immediately, and they're getting ready to surround here, and it's going to net them kill.
We might see a collapse on Rainover. Look at him.
He's taunted. Rainover's in trouble. He gives up first blood to Oda1. There's not.
Might not be over yet.
Hooney's trying to escape. Kasing saving up the
So
energy.
remember, H2K are a team which love to lane swap, and traditionally like to trade towers in the early game. So this is why Fnatic feel that it's safe for them to make this invade, and they're not expecting H2K to collapse as 5 on them, because this isn't something that H2K have been doing in previous games, and so this is a very smart variation from Fnatic in this game.
Easy pickup for H2K. Shen is such a fantastic pick.
And this is in fact exactly what H2K need in order to be able to win this game, because remember, they're going to have to snowball in the first 10 or 12 minutes in order to be able to win this, or else simply their team composition is going to be fighting in Fnatic's main power spike, or going to fall off in the very late game. So they have to win in the very early game, and this is the perfect start.
Is now starting with a Ruby Crystal and that Crystalline Floss. You can see the stats down at the bottom. Fnatic completely outplayed H2K in that game.
Yeah.
Now they've got hard mode. They played from behind against Giants last week. Fnatic have to do it again this week.
And Odoamne also gets a standard lane, which is so important for him in terms of getting towards Hextra and get towards the Black Cleaver, become this massive split pushing threat. The Fnatic will have so few answers. So it's going to be something like Rainover trying to come in with a gank and like trying 2v1 shut down the Gnar. But if H2K is playing the map correctly, you're going to have like a Shen teleporting in, and quickly it's a 2v2. Shen shuts down so many of these aggressive plays you can make, and he's just so good at reacting on the fly. Very often when you play with a Rengar, it's about pre-planning your plays. You need to time the minion waves correctly so you can either go in for the counter gank or you know you can gank safely and not get counter ganked by the Gragas. So that's going to be the key as well. Talked about this in Champ Select.
This is worth pointing out, actually. The Fisher is only partly right about Shen here. Shen only gives you this sort of defense at level 6, which means from a top lane Shen, you're going to be 6 before Rengar's first level 6 gank. However, a support Shen is unlikely to be level 6 when Rengar begins his level 6 gank. And this is one of the reasons, so again, I'm going to talk about teleport support, sorry about this. This is one of the reasons why teleport support is better normally against a Rengar, because you can use this teleport immediately when Rengar is level 6 and doing his first level 6 gank, whereas Shen should be sort of at the beginning of level 5, maybe 20% of the way to level 6, when Rengar hits level 6. So if you're looking for this sort of thing, the advantage Shen has again is that he can take Ignite, which gives him better dueling potential in the early jungle skirmishes early game, and is better in lane. But basically in this lane, like Ignite isn't that relevant in this lane.
With Yellowstar's death, that's only the second time this split. Yellowstar's been killed before 10
because
minutes.
it's very, very unlikely that either of these bot lanes are going to be able to kill each other.
Second time before 10 minutes. There's a massive minion wave built up between Hyana and Kasing. Kasing Shen's going to throw out some of those Vorpal Blades. Not going to offer a whole lot more harass than that. As Yellowstar and Reckless are doing
Wow, wait, so I didn't hear that the first time.
Gragas is waiting there to counter gank you. Well, you're going to die.
All of H2k were waiting to counter gank Fnatic, and they made it count. 2 kills on the board. With Yellowstar's death, that's only the second time this split. Yellowstar's been killed before 10 minutes.
That is a ridiculous stat. Yellowstar's been killed twice in the first 10 minutes? In 14 games? That is ridiculous. Considering how much roaming he does and how hard he fights for jungle and vision control early game, I mean, he's definitely... Sorry, I'm a big Yellowfan fan. I think he's definitely one of the top 3 supports in the world at the moment. Right up there with Matter and Mako. And given how important his shot calling is to Fnatic, I would actually probably rate him as sort of the best support in the world right now. But it's very close amongst Mako, Matter and Yellowstar right now.
They're walking into the trap. Kept it cool, waited for the...
Okay, so let's talk about this mid lane since we've got here. So Victor versus Jace doesn't lean in Victor's favor until the first back. So Febiven wins this lane if he can delay Victor's first recall. So with these opening buys, Victor sort of wants to recall around 1000 gold for his augment upgrade, or 1325 for augment upgrade plus boots, and then you've got maybe 1425, 1500 so you can get some consumables and wards. Jace in a perfect world wants to recall at 1700 for his tier plus brutalizer. He has the longsword already, plus a little bit more gold for consumables. However, this seems less realistic than a 700 gold back for tier, or 1060 back for tier plus longsword. And this explains why Febiven is playing very, very safely, and why it's unlikely that Rengar is going to do any ganking early lane. So mid lane is never going to be low enough, as Febiven will be avoiding trades. Top lane's already 2-0 up at the moment, and so Rumble will be pushed in repeatedly. And the reason why he doesn't want to gank, Victor doesn't want to trade early, is simply because why Jace doesn't want to trade early is if Victor manages to get an early recall without losing too much at either 1000 or 1325 plus consumable. Because again, boots are very, very powerful on Victor for his early game trading, then it will be very difficult for Febiven to come back into the game. I mean, Victor's going to be able to bully him very hard after first back. So here you see Rengar forcing the lane into tower so that Febiven can recall safely at 1000, about 1000, 1200 gold. Which he's going to buy a longsword and a tier win. Victor here is now going to push this wave very, very hard and push the next wave, which will give him about 1400, 1500 gold, which is enough to upgrade his augment for 1000, buy boots for 325, and yeah, and then he's going to be able to bully Jace out of lane.
So he's reading the situation correctly, but he will always lose a little bit.
So the Fisher says that he's reading the gank. That's not true. The reason Huni isn't fighting here is because he's against a 2-0, 2-0 Na, who's just gone Mega Na. I mean, you really don't want to be fighting that at this stage. So no. Like there's, I mean, Huni can guess that he's there, but I mean the reason he's backing off is because Mega Na, when he's 2-0 this at 7 minutes into the game is not something you can fight against with a Rumble in a 1v1.
Double ruby crystals secured. Rainover now has access to Thrill the Hunt, also has those Moby boots picked up. So H2k may get a kitty cat surprise if Rainover can find the correct opportunity. And with the top wave resetting.
So H2k is still ahead at this point in the game, but Gragas has wasted time top and Rengar has basically been power farming. So Lulex needs to ward deep now so Fnatic can track this Rengar, who will be getting 6 reasonably soon. But this is a good situation for H2k because Fnatic were forced to play safe in the early game. So Gragas, however, it meant that Gragas' early game power was negated.
Gets rooted in place, equalizes burning Oduwamne, the follow-up bowler.
And Shen hits level 6.
Coming out from Kasing. He has an ignite. That's a 2-man taunt. Flash away from Rainover. H2k have got 3 kills. Kasing and Oduwamne 1 more. Mega Na's about to come out. Oduwamne needs 1 more auto attack. He's saving it. The taunt connects. Mega Na's gonna pop. Hooney's in trouble.
Oof. Okay, so let's go and have a look at this. So if you look at what lanes are gankable here, so Fnatic see the jungler, Fnatic see the jungle, they see Lulex here, so they know that there's no risk of a counter gank, and note that Shen here is still level 5. So he's still level 5, still level 5. When the gank happens, he's still level 5, still level 5, and he hits level 6 right now, immediately now, midway through the game. And this is something which Fnatic should really have been prepared for. So he's literally just hit level 6 so that he can ult in to protect Oduwamne literally at this second here, at the perfect second to turn around this guy.
He has an ignite. That's a 2-man taunt. Flash away from Rainover. H2k have got 3 kills. Kasing and Oduwamne 1 more.
It's unfortunate that Shen gets the second kill because I think that Mega Na should have been able to kill him. Mega Na's just about to jump in. Yeah, so Shen shouldn't have got that kill. Na would have been able to, should have been able to get it.
Support Shen is so good at shutting down these aggressive plays here. H2k, they know.
Exactly, so teleport or global, so teleport or Shen ultimate on support in a top lane focused meta is very powerful right now. So it's super well played by H2k, but they have to sort of push this advantage or risk being outscaled. They also get a bit lucky that Shen gets level 6 at the exact right time. This is partly Fnatic ganking sort of 10 seconds too late, 5 seconds too late.
And Shen support says hello.
But they really have to push this advantage, as I've been saying throughout this game.
Was completely shut down. This time 2 kills, 2 assists, and then you can just spend all your money on Ruby crystals.
Fantastic performance in the early game for H2k. Great response play. Anticipating some of the focus that Oduwamne.
So at this point in the game, now that Gragas has his Sightstone, so the H2k should be warding this entire top side of the map and pushing these 2 top towers. That's what they should be doing.
And I just want to go back to playoffs in the spring split. H2k played Fnatic as well in the semi-final. H2k pulled out Shen top for Oduwamne 2 games in a row. It was supposed to be one of the counters to Fnatic's playstyle there. How they were always looking for picks, looking for teleport plays, and they could counter that with a global. Managed to win one of the games, also thanks to Huni playing Lee Sin top with Cinderhulk, and was completely useless. But
we did see an equalizer coming out from Huni, but Fnatic were aware something fishy was up. Deep wards in the top half of the jungle, and H2k hammering away on that top tower.
Let's just talk more about Shen. I love Shen support. I think it's so strong in the mid game because he excels so much in the current meta in terms of setting up tower dives or obviously defending for ganks.
Any tanky CC heavy support with teleport will provide the same thing that Shen provides. It doesn't have to be a Shen.
That's the support doing it. He has great base stats with some of the buffs he's been getting lately, so he's fairly strong, just as an individual champion as well in the early game. Obviously late, his main job is going to be like, can you flash taunt the AD carry? That's why he starts falling off a little bit. But just the global pressure he offers as a support is so insane in the mid game.
And
You can take teleport on
again,
your
knowing
support
the
and get
focus
this
that
pressure.
Odo may be the target. Odo is undefeated in this
never
Naga
mind.
split, 4-0. Has been one of the most impressive DPS-focused Nas that we've seen.
Both ultis ready again for Kasing and Rainover.
And Rainover's fully
I'm
spotted
sure.
in the jungle.
Well, we'll see.
You mentioned it with
I'm
the
sure that
keyboards.
they come
Even if
worlds,
I
unless the
pick, all they
metagame
have to do
shifts
is drag
dramatically, we're
Rainover
going to be
over and
seeing
over. Early
teleport
side
being
stone.
played
Don't
on.
have to upgrade your jungle items yet.
Not every
Go
single
Lulix.
game,
He's one of these
but in
very
certain
supportive
games, such
junglers.
as say this
It's the
game,
style he really likes to
in
play.
games where you would
And now
want the
we get to
Shen,
see what
like
Fnatic can
people are
do.
going to be
So Fisher,
considering
pick
things
some
like
bans. You said
Alistar
it,
and
there's
Annie.
deep vision.
Annie
Rainover's
teleports as well.
Rengar is going to get read like a book.
Like
See what
I'm
H2K are
certain.
doing.
I'm not going to say any
All
more
we've
than
seen
this,
from H2K is standard
but I'm
lanes.
certain that
They've
it's
been
going to happen.
struggling in lane swaps in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, we jinxed them.
And in this lane setup,
Okay, so I just want to pause here. So remember, Jace and Victor both went back with 60 CS, give or take. Despite the fact that Victor has been ganked twice now, once by Rengar, pre-level 6, and once by Huni with Rumble, he's beginning to bully Jace out of lane. So in the time it's taken him to get his second 60 CS, Jace has only managed 35 CS. So he has almost double Jace's CS since the second back. And this is what Fnatic were trying to do. They were trying to punish the Jace in lane and keep the Jace down before the late game. So and it's working. So this is why when Leduc and Yamato Cannon say that, you know, H2K made a massive game-losing mistake by not picking this Jace, I don't think they did. I think they intended for Fnatic to pick Jace, and they had a plan for playing against it. So even having been ganked twice, Victor having been ganked twice, he's you know, beginning to pull ahead of Jace.
it's working out. Reckless is caught out. Kasing does not have flash. That may have cost Reckless his life, but he's going to at least Valkyrie away.
Not sure what it is.
My
Trevor, but
gosh,
last
take the
split,
dragon, you have
Teleport
teleport advantage.
Why H2K was so good.
Right? They do have
It was
teleport
like on
advantage. Yeah, okay.
front
So
foot,
Rumble is teleported top lane. Why is Lulix not
And then
taking this
had to go
dragon?
to this, and then completely slumped.
It's a
for
free
like
dragon,
weeks
just take
in
the
single
dragon.
meta and just couldn't figure out
Oh,
how to play.
yeah.
Then we have a Telesraider segment on how they're the best team at lane swapping. They play Fnatic, they lose the lane swap, and the next few weeks they fall behind in every single
Just
lane
take the
swap.
dragon.
Now we're back
Okay,
to normal
so
though.
they have to force. They have limited engage. Okay, now they're finally taking the dragon. This dragon should have been taken 2.5 minutes ago. H2K, you know, need to have limited engage and need to force Fnatic to come to them, and one of the ways they can do this is by taking dragon.
Started by H2K. 12.5 minutes.
Take the
Rainover
dragon.
has
Okay,
got
finally they've got the
smite,
dragon.
however, not going to be in range. And there we go. We do see H2K. Dragon number 1. Holding on 2,000 gold lead. They've got a
That dragon
tower
should have been
in the middle lane
taken
down already.
2.5 minutes ago.
Just also looking at this Lucian pick for Yana. I mean, he was so vocal about how strong Jinx was when some of these other 80 carries were banned away. Talk about it after, because for now, Rainover is looking for potential tower. Like, this is where Alistar is getting super strong. He's going.
Why is he teleporting? Why is Odo there teleporting to the tower there? Okay, this is a really big mistake here by Odo. Why is he teleporting to the tower? The tower's almost dead. All he has to do is teleport to a minion. Ah, dear. That's really bad.
Don't get the kills. The European sniper misses a shot. Fnatic do get a tower at the cost of top.
Yeah, we'll trade towers here. This top lane tower would have gone down.
Like,
fast
that's just a wasted
anyway,
teleport
so
cooldown.
Fnatic instead trying
It's
to
just-
make
it's just a
play,
waste.
and when you face these globals, it's so difficult to make plays where they can join in, go gank them.
Okay, so
instead,
here
they
you
won't be able to
see
do anything.
H2K
Using
pinging the
Alistar,
bot
and I
tower,
think
which is
Rainover
definitely the
jumping
right
into
play.
the tower.
So Lulix
Van
needs to
got
sort
any
of
damage
ward
from the
Fnatic's
bot
blue
lane.
side jungle so
This,
that they can threaten to push two
Lucian
towers.
Window, so she's
And as long as
talking about
H2K
before,
split up and don't fight
Shen's
Fnatic
one
as a
of these
5,
supports
they
that
can
needs an
avoid
AD carry that
Fnatic's
can handle
Corky
himself,
Rumble
because
early
you
game
need
power
to be able
spike.
to teleport
And
away and
Lulix
have
should
an
stay
AD carry sit him down.
close to the
Jinx
bot
would have
lane,
been
as
able
Shen
to
is
do
their
that
safety valve.
against
So he's the one who's
Alistar,
able to
against
teleport to
Rengar.
another
That's
lane
where
to
Lucian
relieve
comes
pressure.
in.
However,
Super
bot lane
handy
doesn't have this
for them,
option
and
because,
also
you know,
you're expecting
this
your
is the
lanes to be
typical
ganked
thing.
because it goes
Gank
out
the
of
global. Gank the source of the global.
Lucian with his
So
damage
Lulix should be sort
would
of
be very
staying bot
safe
side.
in that case. So it's
But
not gonna be about
but
Yana
they
in this game here, and damage
in this
is
sense they've got a 2-0-2 now who's a reasonable split push threat, and basically Fnatic H2K don't want to group now. They want to keep split pushing, preferably 3-1-1 split push, and use their Gnar to split push as best they can. If they group now, when Corky has his
Confident play
his
from
Triforce,
Kasing.
and Jace is hitting his power spike now too.
Kasing
And Rumble is going to have
joining H2K in
have
week
his
4 of
first item
Spring
complete.
Splits
They're not going to
really
win these
led
fights even
H2K
with
to
this
be
gold lead. So
one of the best teams in Europe, and H2K now going to steal away this blue buff.
so they really don't want to group and fight. They want to keep
Just
split
full
push.
control.
And luckily
You
they
can
got the
see
2
how
early
just
kills
by
on Nav
them
and 2
invading
assists
into
later
the
on him.
jungle here,
So
they force
he's a
Rekkles and Rekkles away
viable
from the tower.
Available.
Yeah, Fnatic are trying to go in
threat.
again. Can they pull
Looking
something
for
off?
it. That's a flash pulverized. Kasing and Lulix kept out. Lulix is knocked back. He will go down to Rainover, who's now on the board. Fnatic with their first kill. Equalizer in the tri-bush.
This is
Shot
just
blast
poor,
connects.
poor
Look at the mid
from
lane here.
really poor
You
from
can see how just by them
from
invading into the jungle here, they force Rekkles
this is really poor from H2K.
and Rekkles away from the tower.
Available.
Yeah, Fnatic are
So the other team have Rengar. They're split up here as a 2. They're not respecting the potential Rengar gank here, and Yellowstar and Reckless can output a lot of damage on these 2 champions. And Lucian isn't in a position to send aid. He can't come over this wall here, and so they're able to get the kill.
trying to go in again. Can they pull something off?
That's a flash pulverized. Kasing and Lulix kept
They don't
out.
respect the
Lulix
fact
is
that
knocked
Rengar could
back.
be nearby.
He will go down to Rainover.
Remember that the bot lane is the place where they have to be careful because this is where they have the Shen. So if this was a 2-man gank on top lane, Shen could come and support, but he's not.
Who's now on the board. Fnatic with their first kill. Equalizer in the tri-bush. Shock blast connects.
Look at the mid lane here. H2K were forced down to the bottom of the map, so mid lane is open. Fnatic
So
are
here we
instantly
see
going to
H2K's
push it.
pick ban really beginning to hurt them. So they don't outscale Fnatic, so they're forced to keep making aggressive plays. But Corki and Jace are sort of both hitting their mid-game power spikes. Rumble going for more delayed build, but you know it's still very strong with just levels.
A lot of damage on this tower, but I don't think they'll be able to kill it.
There's an ulti from
And
Yarn
even
and
though
yeah, but
H2K
yeah,
have
lot
a sort of
damage on it.
3k gold lead, they're
Rainover,
not more
knowing that
powerful
his
than
own
Fnatic
jungle
at
is
this point in the
completely
game.
warded,
Because
saying,
Fnatic
"Okay,
are in
I'm
their
gonna start
power
just
spike right
ganking
now.
from my lane. I know I can pop my ulti at this tier 2 tower and you won't spot it."
So I'm just going to
And
pause
that's
it.
how he managed to get in, create a pick for
So
himself.
look at the items here. So Fnatic have a 3k gold lead. No, so H2K have a 3k gold lead. But a lot of this is on Shen. And in terms of team fighting, Alistar with ultimate makes up for this item deficit here on Shen. So Gnar is the only one who's vastly ahead, but even though H2K have a 3k gold lead, they're still, you know, pretty even in terms of team fighting as long as Alistar has his ultimate up. Simply because of all the power spikes here. You know, the first item, Rumble power spike, the Jace, Mana Moon, Brutalizer, and the Corki Trophy.
But there's no TP for Odoamne, so he couldn't join.
This is
Didn't
why
see where Reno
Fnatic's
was
team
on the map,
composition
but
is so
quick
strong.
kill for
Now,
Fnatic.
normally Fnatic
From
would
them.
be
It's what
forced to
they need
make
to do.
plays here with
Again,
this,
Reno has to be
and they'd be forced to make plays into
setting
this
up the
3k
fight
gold
together with
deficit, but they
Yellowstone
know they
before
outscale, so they're not under pressure to make big
Of course,
plays.
the one thing
And this
for
is because of
H2K
the
will
Lucian
have
AD
a little
carry
bit
pick.
of a difficulty is breaking through those inner turrets. There's a lot of wave clear from Fnatic. Jace and Corki do great. And if H2K group, you can see the power of a flash pulverized from Yellowstar.
But here's the thing though, if you look at the wave clear from Fnatic, Jace has to position himself on the side and like smack the shock blast into the minion wave, meaning he's not gonna hit H2K. That buys time for them to stay and
I
keep
don't think it's
the
right to
4v4
freeze this lane.
because they want to split push with Odoamne. Jumping him now.
Hooney's
HK's
already
going in.
gone
That was a
golden,
misclick.
and he's got caught out. Hooney will be dropping, but not before he puts the equalizer out. Rainover's leaped back in with Thrill of the Hunt. Kasing is channeling the Stand United. Rainover's looking for a kill, but I don't think he'll find him. Kasing saves H2K once more.
Look at the bot lane as well.
It's soloed by Odoamne.
Okay,
and
so finally
Yarnan
he
is
pushes.
pushing the bottom lane. Fnatic get a tower at the cost of 3 lives.
Big mistake here from Fnatic. Hooney, he popped his hourglass. Obviously a misclick from him. And also just the engage.
Well, I think it's worse than that. So let's go through what Fnatic do wrong in that last fight. So firstly, there's the Hooney Hourglass.
Of a flash pulverized from Yellowstar.
But here's the thing though, if you look at the wave clear from Fnatic, Jace has to position himself on the side and like smack the shock blast into the minion wave,
Is that
meaning he's not
ward
gonna
in
hit
the bush?
H2K. That buys time for them to stay and keep the 4v4 because they want to split
Yeah,
push
that
with
would
Odoamne.
Okay, so let's look at what Fnatic are doing wrong here. Firstly, there's the Hooney Hourglass, of course. But the fact simply that they're going to fight H2k at the source of their power. So remember that Na is super far ahead right now. He's 2-0-2, got those 2 kills early, has a lot of CS, and should expect support at least from Shen, okay? Fnatic don't have sufficient ward coverage, deep ward coverage in the blue side jungle to push so far ahead after taking tower, considering especially that they're fighting at H2k's source of strength, which is this Na. Fnatic really cannot kill the Na right now before he goes Mega Na, at which point he can probably turn a fight 3v4 because he's so far ahead. And the Shen ult means that he's always going to have backups. They can't possibly kill this now. They should just be backing off.
And he's got caught out. Huni will be dropping, but not before he puts the equalizer out. Reignover's leaping.
You see, look how strong this now is.
Kasing is channeling the Stand United. Reignover's looking for a kill, but I don't think he'll find him. Kasing saves H2k once
I mean,
more.
people will focus on the Huni hourglass there, but really it's the mistake is taking the fight at all. Forget about, you know, making mistakes with hourglass. They should just be running away.
Huni, he popped his hourglass. Obviously a misclick from him. And also just the engage coming in. H2k were ready for it. Even though Yana wasn't there, they knew they could take some of the fight, or they could trade even at least with Fnatic while he was taking the button. Let's see it again.
Okay.
So the take tower, look how H2k
So stop. So Yellow Star goes into engage. They have no ward coverage at this point of the map. So Yellow Star has gone in. They have no ward coverage, and they're not good. How are they? They can't kill this Na. The Na, at worst, the Na can run away. At worst for H2k, the best scenario that Fnatic can get is this Na runs away. And maybe gets the Shen ultimate on top. That's the best thing that can possibly happen for Fnatic. The worst possible situation is what happens here, where they just turn around a 3v4 fight. Even without that mistake from Huni, I think they would still struggle to win this team fight. Because Na is so far ahead.
Beautiful setup, and meanwhile, while you AD carry, you don't need him. You can clean up because Pippin moving too late. This is not a standard Fnatic play. They're normally the ones already.
Well, it's not that Pippin's moving too late. It's just that Victor can get there faster than him because he has a shorter route.
He feels Fnatic make less mistakes than their opponents. In the video we heard earlier today, Huni was saying, even if H2k improve, we can still beat them. Fnatic are 4,000 gold down, on the cusp of losing the longest regular season winning streak.
Well, they weren't actually, because remember they outscale into the late game and they're now at their strongest point that they're going to be. So they're not actually that far behind because of how well the pick ban phase went.
But H2k straight back into the jungle of Fnatic. They've been spending more
time. So because of how well the pick ban phase went for Fnatic.
And is what you need to do when you face something like a Rengar. Obviously, the next thing is going to be deep wards in the lanes, which is not something we see very often. But if we look at the mid lane right here, just outside of the screen, you can see a ward placed from H2k. That's again to spot. If Fnatic is ever grouping with this Jace and this Corki, you're going to see Reignover sit very far behind the team in the lane where he doesn't expect there to be a ward.
Dragon is so important for H2k, and the fact that they delayed an extra 2 minutes on that Dragon is not a good thing.
If Reignover cannot get in there, Fnatic doesn't have a lot of ways of getting to like Ryu, getting to Yanin.
Somebody from H2k that has a lot of ways to get to Fnatic is Kasing. Stand United almost available. He's got Home Guard, Moby Beat. H2k secure an inner turret in the bottom lane. That's 4th one of the game. Look at the top lane, however. Fnatic's minions are pushing towards H2k. There's no teleport for Roto 1. Somebody needs to go deal with that. Fnatic are not necessarily grouped up.
Fnatic wants to just stop the recalls. They want to see if this minion wave here can do some damage and also get cleared out. Obviously, the minions going to the towers doesn't benefit H2k in any way. So Fnatic doing a very good job just stopping the recalls, trying to buy a bit more time. There's nothing else down here in the bottom of the map to really fight for because there's no dragon. Towers are gone as well. Now Huni needs to be careful.
He's been taunted! Huni may have hourglass. He's going to have to. Equalizer comes out, saving that cooldown this time round. But Reignover's been caught out. A 2-man knocker from Yellow Star. Look at the shock blast.
There, okay, so look, notice here, okay. Look at the gold lead. There's a nearly 5k gold lead, and look how close this fight is in terms of health bars. I mean,
Fnatic.
this is the
Fnatic
weakness
tried
of the
to
team
stop
composition
H2k from recalling, and
from
then just
H2K
kept moving down, kept trying
compared
to
to what Fnatic
bait them potentially
had.
into a fight, and then we see this taunt flash you can do on the Shen.
Basically, H2K are on a very thin line right now, because even though they have the goal lead, they have to make things happen quickly.
Never
And
back out. Just goes down.
and if they make a mistake, there's going to be no way back into this game for them. Because I mean, if the fights are that close, when they get the engage that they want, and they're 5k gold up, imagine what the fights are going to be like if the games are closer. So.
Is this the way? Is it unlucky 13 for Fnatic? 21 minutes gone by, 5,000 gold up, 2 towers up, 2 dragons up. And we're in the territory where Fnatic can sneak Barons.
True.
However, they're very far down.
Yeah. And it's normally Fnatic having the vision control.
It's not that easy for Fnatic to force an early dragon here, because they've got Rumble and Corki top and AD carry, and Corki hasn't got his blade yet. They don't really have that much Baron pressure with this team composition.
Enough poke from this Jace, from this Corki. We haven't seen them get into proper fights yet. They might be able to get a pick on Lulex though.
Lulex is in trouble. Explosive cast comes out. Equalizes down. Odo1 is back in Mega Gnar. He's going to look for a 2-man knockup, but it's only Reignover and Yellowstar. Feathervin is firing down the shock blast on the side as Yarn has been zoned away thus far. Kissing lands a torch. Look at Reckless. He's low on mana, but high on health. Landing auto attacks, flashing forward. The Gatling gun's out. He should find Odo1 there for the shutdown.
Oh,
the shock blast finds Yarn. Fnatic have 4 kills, looking for the ace, and there's a peel for Baron.
I'm happy we just talked about how strong the mid game is for Fnatic, yet even though we didn't get to see them really use it so far.
Okay, so this is a pretty big throw by H2K. Let's go and rewind and watch that team fight again, and we're going to talk through it in slow motion. Okay, so let's just pause here. So this is the sort of right thing for Fnatic to do. So they've got for H2K to do, sorry, which is take control of Fnatic's red side jungle whilst pushing bot with Gnar, in preparation for going for sort of for this tier 2 tower. However, this is something H2K do every single game. You know, they ward up the jungle, get ready to push the tower, and Fnatic are ready and know how to play around this. So
another thing to highlight, we talked very quickly about how the mid-game spike, Corki, Jace, Rumble is fantastic for Fnatic, but because they gave up 2 kills at level 1.
Okay, so here, note that Lulex saw this ward expire, which will be matter later.
Falling behind further and further, we have barely seen them group and...
Okay, so look, Lulex's sweeper is up, so he's gone through 2 key bushes, the one at the bottom of red buff down here, and this bush here without sweeping. So he saw the ward expire next to Raptors and simply assumes that this area that's the only ward in this area. That's the only thing I can think of. It doesn't make sense for Lulex not to sweep. It doesn't make sense for Lulex not to sweep this area. One or both of those bushes. The only thing I can think of is that he's seen the ward. That he's seen the ward expire and just assumes there isn't another ward, which is a pretty silly thing to assume. Note also that there are no pink wards, aggressive pink wards in Fnatic's jungle to defend against this Rengar. Flank. So there's 2 pink wards in the river here and 1 pink ward here by Dragon, and that's it. So they have no good ward coverage against a Rengar.
Land enough poke from this Jace, from this Corki. We haven't seen them get into proper fights yet. They might be able to...
Okay, at this point, Gragas is dead. Okay, there's no reason. This teleport is not necessary. H2K can just give up the kill. Yes, it's annoying. It's 450 gold. It's more delay into the game. But they choose to fight. And this is a really bad decision because Fnatic basically have at a very strong point item-wise. And Corki and Jace do a ton of damage. And Rengar and Alistar don't need gold to be effective. And Rumble is fine provided he lands a good equalizer. and they're fighting in the jungle. Okay, so by not cancelling this teleport, H2k opt into a 4v5 fight in the jungle, or a 4.5v5 fight in the jungle against a Rumble, Jace, Alistar. And this is what throws the game. Because this is what lets Fnatic equalize the goal lead. And this basically, you know, once the goal lead is equalized, H2k's team composition is far superior. What's happening here? I don't understand what's wrong with the video. Oh, there we go. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is basically where the throw happens. He should just cancel this teleport and they should just run away at this point. You give up 1 kill, yes, it's annoying, yes, you have to set up all your wards again, but whatever. But by opting into this fight, this is a throw. Like, you shouldn't be fighting a Rumble in the jungle. This is... However, despite this bad decision making, Na is so strong right now that they still have a chance to win. However, 2 things here that I want to focus on from Huni. Huni lands a great equalizer here, which zones Victor, and then immediately rotates here and zones the Lucian and Shen away from this Na, so that Fnatic can just collapse on the Na. And this is a really, really well played sequence of events by Huni. So watch Huni. Great equalizer here, zones the Victor out. Victor can't come through this passageway without taking a ton of damage. And then look where he goes immediately. There, okay? So they've surrounded the Na, and Huni immediately flame spitters into Zhonya's here to zone out. You see, so there's no way that the 2 carries from H2k can get into this fight. It's a really, really good play by Huni, and he basically wins the game with that play there. Zoning out 1 carry, and then zoning out the 2nd carry, so that they can kill the main threat from H2k's team, the champion who's very, very far ahead, 4-0-5 at the moment. And it's just super well played by him.
Is firing down the shock blast on the side as Yarn has been zoned away thus far. Kissing lands a torch. Look at Reckless. He's low on mana, but high on health. Landing auto attacks, flashing forward. The Gatling gun's out. He should find O2-1.
And that's just a very good kill there by that's a very good play by Febby. Okay, so let's go back to where we were. So here, note the gold is pretty even right now, but that fight basically shows, you know, that at this point Fnatic are only going to get stronger, and they're at a very powerful power spike point.
And Reynov is just going to go invisible. Great round of applause from the audience as we have a game on our hands. Fnatic had to play from behind against the Giants last week, and they're playing from behind against H2k this week.
The other thing that they gave up there in that last fight is they gave up their TP. So notice here that Fnatic are using this TP advantage very well to apply pressure. Note that Fnatic sort of always pick high wave play compositions. So this dive here is not going to be easy, and if they don't dive, then Rumble is going to go and take this tower.
Bot lane, Huni's pushing with TP. H2k just want to try and brute force.
That's just good use of TP advantage.
It looks like they're going to be trading. Kasing has flash available. H2k secure the tower first. Rumble not known for his.
So that's a decent trade for H2k. They now need to set up for a Baron bait or go Dragon.
H2k steal all of the
but remember that they've been losing time on these dragons. If they've been taking the dragons on spawn, then they could be threatening a 4th dragon by now.
Number 1 rule against the Rengar, pings. Number 2 rule against any team in the world, pings. Because you need to also deny vision, otherwise you can't really move anywhere. And for now,
I mean, Deficio is right here. There's no pings from H2k, and only 1 upgraded sweeper versus Rengar, which is a major problem.
Dragon number 3, Deficio.
So the gold difference here is 1k, but the 3 dragons are probably worth another 2 to 3k in offensive stats and speed boost
if they do not
at this point in the game.
For the next few dragons. Need to clear out the vision, and
so this is pretty ballsy from H2k. They have a large wave pushing bots here, which is going to crash into their tower here, which Huni set up to slow push, and they should probably send Shen to deal with it, as there's no TP on their Gnar. The problem is H2k have here is that they cannot easily engage on Fnatic, and they have no real disengage, and they have a pretty low damage team composition, so they are in trouble despite all the advantages they have.
Shock blast. And that's where Kasin's HP went. Yellowstone's looking for an engage. Fnatic are split, but they've got to wait for Mega now.
Waiting it out. Never disrespect the damage Fnatic can do.
What? What on earth is that? Why are they going all in on an Alistar that's just altered? That's just awful. Then they're never going to be able to kill this Alistar. They've got no damage.
At this point in the game, Yellowstar is torn it up.
See, that's a good play here by Lulex. He gets the good barrel and a good flash body slam. But they've used all their CC on Yellowstar.
See what Lulex can do.
Oh, what on earth is that? That's awful. Oh dear. So basically, it's a pretty good like flash body slam from Lulex. It's a disengaged barrel, but his team has no damage to follow up, and they've used all their CC on Yellowstar. And also, like, who is Lucian supposed to damage in this team composition? Like,
Ryu is here, he's full HP, but Lulex is so low. He's going
hopefully they'll show some nothing. Yeah, and at this point the game is basically over. That was just such a bad team fight. I mean, from this point, the game is going to be pretty academic. It's going to be really hard for H2k to win, unless Fnatic make a really big mistake. And because, I mean, the poke compositions here are very good at sieging with Baron. And it will be very, they're going to be able to take a large amount of towers. Okay, but pause here. So, who is Lucian supposed to be able to kill here? So, Alistar has his ult. Corki's going to be able to outduel him because of his Blade of the Rune King. Jace outranges him massively. Rengar has a ton of armor. Huni has a ton of armor. So who is Lucian supposed to kill? Lucian doesn't have a Last Whisper yet. He can't do any damage. I mean, yeah.
They had so many more answers though to team fights, and H2k have now multiple times in a row engaged into fights with Fnatic, or at least been in situations where Fnatic could force fights on them, and that's been exactly what they wanted with this Rumble pick, the Jace obviously from February. Yes, Fnatic doesn't get to sit there and land the poke.
Yep.
But they still have such
That's the point. This is why Ducky's point about their Leduc's point about having no engage on H2, no reliable H2Ks, engage on H2K side is not a major problem in this game. I mean, you don't want to engage on this team at this point in the game. Like, Rumble, you know, like, it's really hard to engage on this team. And in the late game, you can just buy items to compensate for your lack of engage. So it doesn't matter that H2K don't really have any hard engage in the mid-game team fight.
Something you were mentioning from Kasim.
But H2K really playing very badly against this Rengar.
Cat going. The answer is nowhere.
Oh dear.
Not the most impressive Rengar game from Rainover. He's gonna find Odoamne. Shock Blast looking to control on his Baron empowered minions. With broken Deficio. Culling comes out to clear the wave. Tower is going to survive for a few seconds longer. So it looks like Lulex wants to clear her out. That's a big chunk off of Ryu. Shock Blast coming out. Minions are conga lining in. Deficio, Fnatic are keeping up the siege.
Yeah, finally Fnatic gets to siege with the composition. We're still only 28 minutes in. There's like a lot more with the things going on. So they have fantastic poke at this point. And overall, for H2K, we mentioned these pink wards before, and I really feel like that's been such a big problem for them. They've never really been able to deny a whole lot of vision away from Fnatic, so Fnatic always had the chance to see, okay, are you out of position? Can we get a potential engage with our Rengar? And they've been using it so well. I mean, full credit to Fnatic for how they've been using that information.
Sure, but the lack of pink wards, I think, isn't so much about denying vision, it's more about warding their flanks. I mean, Rengar is, you know, really causing them all sorts of trouble here. And, yeah, so, I mean, the lack of pink wards from H2K is just
Officio,
unacceptable.
You're rewriting the League of Legends rulebook because I thought Rule 1 was never chase is singed, but we'll go with pinks. You can see Daylor and Gambit enjoying the game as Fnatic are now 4,000 gold ahead. They are the ones in control as we are about to hit 30 minutes. And look at the gold graph. What a story that tells. One team fight Ace, a second team fight then Baron. And Fnatic are where many expected them to be.
Yeah, but that was because of the pick ban as well.
So bad for Fnatic.
That's why I spent
Didn't
45
get to
minutes
make game spike
talking
at
about the
all.
pick ban.
Never got the chance to
Basically,
move
the
up
pick ban is
because
what
they were
decides
so
this
strong,
game.
they could always just try and fight against them.
Although I do admit that H2K took some bad fights in
start
this game.
happening, these team fights in favor of Fnatic in their own jungle as well, because they could just trade the wards with H2K. They used it. Now we're sitting here and we get to see this poke competition start shining. Now they're back where they want to be. As Pokemon, if you fall behind, it tends to just snowball horribly one way because you cannot really defend yourself, you cannot set up sieges. Now they can. Kasing is gonna flash forward though.
Right, they always engage on the Alistar. Like, it's awful. Like, it... like, I mean... like, there's nothing to say about this. Like, they use all their CC on the Alistar. Like, what are they trying to do? It doesn't make sense. I mean, I think this is just H2K being on tilt. That's the only, like, you know, it's desperation because they sort of know that they get outscaled, they know that they're not going to win in the late game, and, like, they just have to try things and it just puts them further and further behind. But, like, the second team fight, they still had a chance to get back into this game, but then they used all their CC on Alistar. That play there on Alistar was just like a hope, but I mean, obviously it didn't pay off. But I mean, now they just have to hope and they have to try risky things.
He's not been playing the map. He's not been able to set up the split push he wanted with this frozen mallet build as well for himself. But Rainover, I mean, criticized him before with this Rengar, but he's been...
This is a really good dragon for H2K to get. It's their 4th dragon and it does give them a way to get back into the game. Maybe they get a lucky pick or maybe they can sneak that dragon. But note that if they'd been going for dragons more aggressively on spawn, they'd be threatening the 5th dragon now. So, I mean, just bear that in mind. H2K aren't a team that play around dragon very well. They don't go for dragons aggressively enough. They prefer their towers instead. And I mean, I can see why they prefer towers, but it's always useful to be able to have that weapon in your arsenal.
They are down 4 dragons. With Baron coming up in a minute, you can already see the priority from teams looking to clear the vision out, looking to gain vision control. And unless H2K play this one correctly, they may be losing it back.
So the thing is here, okay, if H2K had sort of used their 2 early kills on Shen to get maybe a Bami Cinder or something like that, they could now send Shen bot to ensure that Na is in this fight from the start, which is really important, as Na at least offers some sort of, you know, catch potential with Frozen Mallet, and he offers at least, you know, he's the most fed person, or was the most fed person on H2K, and at least that way they can sort of have 2.5 damage threats right from the start of the fight. Well, I mean, yeah, they can have some amount of damage right from the fight, but they don't. So I mean, Shen by himself, you know, with some help could sort of fight against this Rumble, or at least, like, you know, send the wave back.
Tough situation for H2K where there's no real great play to make.
Look at the poke coming out from Fnatic. H2K managed to bully their way into the river, clear out.
I mean, I don't know if you could afford to build like a Bami Cinder into Sunfire Cape on your support, but I mean, it would give them some way to win this game. I mean, they have to split to win this game, but they have to split to win the game, but they have no damage in their team composition and are relying on Na to provide extra damage. So it's a tricky one. I don't really know the answer. Well, I know the answer. The answer is they shouldn't have taken support Shen, they should have taken support Alistar, but never mind.
Remember, there's cleanse for Fedrivan, so he should not be the target for the Shen taunt. Instead, you want Reckless or maybe Huni could take him down before the Hourglass. But Fnatic now, because they've been landing so much poke, they know H2K have been forced to back away, and they just start the Baron now.
Culling comes
See,
out
look,
from Kiana,
he
he's a
just
little
does no
split from his
damage.
team, H2k in position. Baron number 2 secured. Equalizer comes out. Odo1 is down already. Lulex is looking for Feathervin, but he's not going to find him. Rainover
Yeah, I mean, there's
leaps
nothing
in.
to say
We see
about
a
this team
flash
fight.
for
I mean,
flash. Yellowstar
like,
chasing Kasing.
H2k have
3
no
members of
damage
H2K
in
are
their team
down.
composition.
Fnatic have a Baron. Yellowstar setting up yet another kill for Fnatic, and Rainover, he's bounced back from a horrid start.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot to say about this game.
An uncontested inhibitor turret for at least 25 seconds.
And just great play all around from Fnatic and setting up this Baron. How they're just dancing around it. They wait for H2k to move close, then they land the poke. And once H2k is forced back to their own base, well, then you just start rushing in this Baron here for Fnatic. I mean, if you can't even beat them when you get 2 kills at level 1, who's going to stop Fnatic?
No, Deficio, this game was lost in pick bans. It wasn't about I mean, they got the illusion that they had a chance in this game, but it was always going to be a very, very difficult game to win. Even with those 2 kills at level 1. Their pick ban was just so poor by comparison. So they recall here and come back to lane. I'm not going to make you watch it.
Not even close, really, compared to what Fnatic's been picking up. Featherman has the fantastic Infinity Edge. W on this Jace turn into hammer form and just destroy people.
Let's see how many shock blasts Feathervin can land. Kasing's actually going to dash into that one. Odo1 he's chunked a little bit. He's got that elixir of iron. Minion wave is being cleared out efficiently, but look at the supers. They're not in the base yet. 25% of Baron left for Fnatic, and they've poked Kasing down. So if his Stand United comes in, it will be low. Culling used to try and clear this wave. Reckless is getting a few auto attacks down. Kianan is going to dash forward aggressively. Odo1 is going to go Mega Gnar. Does not have flash available. Will get hyper in a moment. Is going to try stun up Huni. We see Rainover.
There's not a lot to say about this fight. I mean, basically H2k have no damage. They don't have enough damage in their team composition. So this is just, normally you'd expect the Corki Rumble team composition to fall off late game, but I mean, against this Fnatic team composition that has no damage, I mean, bad game really.
That end up winning 13-0. They equal the longest winning streak in LCS history.
Okay, so to summarize, H2k lost this game in pick bans. So their second round picking Narshen, they immediately gave away their intention in this game to Fnatic. So let's go back to pick bans. Okay, 11:30. Okay, so remember this is Jace. I'm not going to find the exact point where they picked Jace. Okay, so with Narshen Gragas as their first 3 picks, H2k basically told Fnatic that they would have no reliable engage and would be heavily reliant on their mid and ADC to provide the majority of their damage in the game. This allowed Fnatic to pick 2 hard engage picks in their 3rd and 4th rotation to counter the 2 damage sources that they have, and made it very difficult for H2k to pick immobile hyper carries at AD carry or mid. They picked the Victor because they had the plan to play that into Jace, but this Lucian here, they couldn't afford to pick a Jinx because of all this engage here. Maybe they should still have picked Jinx. It would probably have worked out better than what happened in this game, where the Lucian basically did no damage in the late game. But anyway, when sort of SK Telecom or something play Lucian, they tend to play it with Janna and Lulu to give supplementary damage, whereas there's no supplementary damage for this this Lucian within this team composition. So H2k were, however, able to use their early lead to gain an advantage. So at one stage it was worth almost 8k, that lead, if you include stats from Dragon Buff. So why did H2k lose? Firstly, Fnatic have a team composition with a massive mid-game power spike, so despite the gold disadvantage, they could still output a lot of damage. Secondly, H2k's 2 key fights went ahead H2k lost 2 key fights when ahead due to poor pink ward, vision control and vision denial, allowing Rengar to get strong initiates. In the first fight, they fought in the jungle against a team composition which was particularly strong at fighting in narrow jungle pathways, and the second team fight, they just used all their engage and all their CC on Alistar. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So H2k, despite playing against the... So, thirdly, why did H2k lose this game? H2k, despite playing a poke composition, against the poke composition, and being ahead in the game did not create map pressure well or build items to help them force fights with Fnatic. So sort of against AoE magic damage from Corki and Rumble, they had no Aegis, no Locket. Despite having Shen, they didn't build any wave clear or banner of command on Shen to be able to use Shen to split push, so to be able to draw pressure around the map and to try to split Fnatic up because they're not going to win 5-on-5 team fights. And they need Gnar to be with the team because Gnar is quite a lot of their damage. So having Gnar teleport in didn't work simply because they needed Gnar to be in the team fight from the start in order to be able to output damage, and this means that they needed some sort of, split push threat from Shen, or at least having Shen be able to defend against a split push. But if you give your support Shen no wave clear, then obviously he's not going to be able to be a split push threat. He doesn't even have to be a split push threat, he just has to be able to slow push a wave on one side of the map and then be able to use his ultimate to go to the other side of the map. But they didn't really do that. Shen was always grouped with the team, and they needed to have Gnar grouped with the team. And yes, before anybody says, I know banner command gives AP and AP doesn't do anything on Shen, but it's worth saying that Shen should have had the Aegis anyway. So he should have built Aegis, and then they could decide whether to go lock it. I mean, it's ridiculous that they didn't have an Aegis in that game against a Corki Rumble team composition. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's also worth saying that Odoam there was pretty wasteful with his TP usage. In fact, he baited H2k into a really bad fight that they ended up losing. But I think it was more an issue that Odoamne needed to be with the team so he could output damage right from the start of the fight. And they should have used their ultimate on Shen in order to create split push, rather than having Odoamne do it. This was once the game was more even. When H2k were 5k gold ahead, then it was okay to use Odoamne as the split push. Fourthly, why did H2k lose? Gragas. So Gragas, the only potential candidate, didn't build Righteous Glory, and they didn't have a talisman anywhere. No talisman on Shen, for instance, to facilitate engage. So H2k were lacking in engage, but didn't build Righteous Glory and didn't build talisman. So they didn't even use the items that you need to facilitate the engage. And finally, they picked a relatively short range, low damage team composition into an Alistar Corki Rumble team composition that had better long range poke with Jace and huge tankiness potential in Alistar. And this was especially bad given the lack of Aegis anywhere on H2k's team. Fnatic, on the other hand, played well. Despite some early game mistakes, they turned it around with some good picks in team fights and used the inevitability they had in team composition to pressure H2k in fighting them during their power spike. And they stalled the game out by using the wave clear that they had in their team composition and made it very hard for H2k to push their lead more than they did. So that was a summary of the game, and in my next videos I'm going to talk about how Origin did against Fnatic. Thank you for watching.